When organizations talk about scaling their data center operations, the focus is often on deployment, performance, and uptime. But just as important, and often far less visible, is what happens when that infrastructure reaches end of life. As refresh cycles accelerate and environments grow more complex, data center decommissioning has become a critical part of managing risk, value, and sustainability. In this episode, we speak with Kelly Heisinger, Director of Service Delivery at SK Tests, to explore what it really takes to deliver decommissioning projects at scale and why getting the fundamentals right makes all the difference.
Kelly, before we dive in, could you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your role as Director of Client Services at SK Tests?
Oh, yes. Hello, I'm Kelly Heisinger, and I've been at Test for about 3 years now. I started as a senior program manager, and I've been managing our largest hyperscale customers for some time. I recently transitioned to the Director of Service Delivery, and I now have been charged with overseeing the entire service delivery team and just ensuring that all of our customer needs are met on a daily basis, everything from reporting to logistics to just overall customer satisfaction and making sure that they get what they need.
Right. Thank you for that, Kelly. And with that experience from managing some of our major client programs and now overseeing service delivery more broadly, right? You've probably seen just how complex these environments can be. So let's start with the fundamentals, Kelly. What exactly is data center decommissioning and what does it involve beyond simply powering down an equipment?
Yes, absolutely. Data center decommissioning can be cover many areas and involve many stakeholders within each company. So as assets age and they need to be replaced and upgraded, it's really important to properly plan for the retirement and replacement of those assets. The decommissioning process covers the removal of the assets from their environments, which can be either a live environment or they could be powered down. It involves having a solid understanding of the assets and how to properly handle those assets. I think first and foremost, it's important that everybody understand how to properly handle and safely handle the assets. A good data center decommissioning will begin typically with the discovery phase so that everybody's on board and everybody understands the project. The stakeholders should be identified and a full scope of the project should be shared with everyone involved. The project should start with discovery phase, followed by a project plan to include all the details and timelines for completion of the project. Some of the largest highlights would possibly include the asset details, meaning like where are the assets located, what types of assets, are they powered on or not, are they data bearing or not, are there any special requirements, asset tags or labels that need to be removed. And then after that, we'd move on to how to handle the assets. We typically would start with a full site visit, meeting the on-site contacts, doing a walkthrough just to understand the environment, where the assets are located, and what would be needed to safely and properly remove them from the site. We also take into consideration special building requirements such as a certificate of insurance or floor protection. What are the dock and access requirements for that site? And any other thing that might come up, which could be a multiple of different items based on our site visit. So that's really where we do kind of the discovery and find out all of the requirements that might be needed.
So, what I can understand is that the discovery really starts at the planning phase, right? Making sure that every asset and requirement is clearly understood before anything moves. When you take that structured process and apply it to much larger environments, sometimes thousands or even tens of thousands of assets, right? How does that change the way these projects are delivered?
I would say if it's a small project or a large project, we're still really focusing on the same things. We're starting with that project's plan, the discovery, the understanding of what the client needs and how we can best meet their needs. It really doesn't matter if it's just a few assets or a full data center. We've done both. And really the plan really basically remains the same. The same questions need to be asked just to ensure the safety and security, especially the data security of all the assets that we're removing.
That's a very interesting part about us, right? It's the core process remains consistent, but the scale really puts a spotlight on planning and coordination. Well, at that level of complexity, Kelly, what ultimately determines whether a large-scale decommissioning project stays controlled and successful rather than becoming exposed to risk?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned it and you said it right. The project plan is really probably the most important role in the success of a decommissioning project. Having clear understanding and clear uh, cooperation from all parties, the stakeholders, making sure that everybody has that clear understanding of the scope and the requirements, always ensure success for that overall project. And the other main component is a partnership between the SK tests and all of the stakeholders. So the site context, the procurement person, the remarketing team, our operations team, logistics teams, we all work together to make sure that it's successful.
Yeah, it's the partnership, it's the collaboration between the service provider and the stakeholder clearly becomes critical when so many teams and assets are involved. So for
Absolutely.
organizations that are about to begin a major migration or data center closure, what strategic advice would you offer before the project even starts?
I'd absolutely start with that discovery meeting, make sure my partner's equipped to handle all the assets, make sure that we're equipped to handle all the assets of the project, excuse me, aspects of the projects. At SK Test, we manage the project from discovery to final reporting. So that starts typically early, well before we're on site. We'll have that discovery meeting, and then our SK Test service delivery team stays on the project and stays with the customer contact all the way to the very, very final report that's submitted. So it's important to work with the experienced team that understands all of the steps in the process so there's no issues, no surprises on site, no issues handling the data, making sure that that data integrity is secure and no mishandling of material. So the chain of custody is always in contact and intact.
Right. Kelly, thank you so much for sharing those insights. It really highlights how data center decommissioning becomes a very different challenge when it's delivered at scale, requiring careful planning, coordination, and the right expertise to manage thousands of assets securely and sustainably. So thank you for your time, and we invite everyone to stay tuned for more conversations as we continue exploring how organizations can manage technology life cycles securely and sustainably with SK Tests. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Kelly.
Thank you.